early on with the first couple injuries, I was like, oh, like I need to get back. Like, but I think like my mom texted me like after this last injury, and like they know how hard it's been on me. But my mom was like, you know, you've taken so much time for everybody else. Like you have to take time for yourself now. So just trying to do that the best I can too.
Yeah. What started as a seemingly polite sit-down between two basketball legends, Caitlin Clark and Sue Bird, unexpectedly ignited a digital firestorm, sending shockwaves through the sports world and beyond. One moment, they were dissecting the nuances of the game, a typical chat between peers. The next, Caitlin casually uttered a response about her recovery that sent fans across the globe into a collective gasp, causing many to choke on their popcorn. Was it a calculated comeback hint, a psychological mind game aimed at rivals, or the opening salvo in basketball's next grand, unpredictable plot twist? Whatever its true intent, the aftermath was undeniable. The internet, in unison, lost its collective mind, and the expression on Sue Bird's face spoke volumes. It was not merely an interview, it was a cliffhanger, a tantalizing glimpse into something so unexpected, so subtly profound, that the words Caitlin Clark chose to say out loud seemed almost unbelievable. Yet the conviction in her tone was irrefutable.
About something that I cannot believe Caitlin Clark said out loud. Do I believe Caitlin Clark said this? Yeah. Do I believe she's right? Yeah. I cannot believe Caitlin Clark said this out loud. I'm shocked. I am shocked that she said it out loud in the Sue Bird podcast. And she's 100% correct. She's played on a team with Natasha Howard, who, let's be real, gets in the way a lot.
The internet's reaction wasn't just viewership, it was an act of insatiable devouring. It felt like Netflix had unexpectedly dropped an unannounced new season of a beloved, long-awaited show, instantly transforming every social media timeline into an inescapable torrent of spoilers, cryptic theories, and fervent debates. Fans, myself included, clicked play anticipating a routine, respectful conversation, perhaps a lighthearted exchange about the game, a charming anecdote or two about team camaraderie, maybe a little dose of get-well-soon energy. But Caitlin Clark, ever the disruptor, showed up with an unmistakable vibe that screamed, I will offer just enough information to absolutely shatter your group chats, and not a single shred more. It was a masterful display of controlled disclosure, leaving everyone wanting more, dissecting every pause, every nuance of her delivery.
It has given me really good perspective on like what a lot of my teammates and people that teams I've been a part of, like certain people have had to go through. Like I've never been through anything like this. Like, and I think that's probably why it's been so hard, because like I've never really dealt with injury, and that's probably been a challenge in itself, because like when I first like was feeling pain, like I didn't understand it. Like I didn't know. I was like, am I just tight?
Early on with the first couple injuries, I was like, oh, like I need to get back. But I think like my mom texted me like after this last injury, and like they know how hard it's been on me. But my mom was like, you know, you've taken so much time for everybody else. Like you have to take time for yourself now. This raw confession, this rare glimpse into her vulnerability, wasn't just a soundbite. It was a profound unveiling. For a competitor like Caitlin, a force of nature wired for relentless competition and constant motion, confronting her first serious injury was akin to asking a Ferrari to suddenly take up knitting. The psychological toll of being sidelined, of grappling with pain that she couldn't immediately comprehend or conquer, was a challenge unlike any she had ever faced. She had never truly dealt with the frustrating, often isolating reality of injury, and her words underscored the silent battle fought away from the court. A stark contrast to the dominant, unbreakable persona the world had come to expect.
We have gotten a little bit of an update. Here from Chloe Peterson, who is probably the main journalist involved with the Indiana Fever. And realistically, this is not an ideal scenario for anyone, but it's an update. And look, to say that she doesn't have any extra information is wrong. She 1,000,000% has extra information.
Sitting opposite Clark, Sue Bird played her role with the quiet intensity of a woman safeguarding state secrets, thoroughly relishing every moment. From the very beginning of their conversation, Sue exhibited those subtle, knowing smiles. The kind that silently proclaim, "I've been deeply embedded in this intricate game long enough to understand precisely how the sausage is made, but don't expect me to reveal the secret recipe." She didn't need to dominate the narrative. In fact, she masterfully allowed Caitlin to lead the discussion, occasionally interjecting a perfectly timed nod or a subtly raised eyebrow, as if she were sprinkling the precise amount of seasoning onto an already compelling dish. It was the epitome of interviewing as an art form, a seamless conversation where insights were gently coaxed rather than aggressively grilled, leaving the viewer to ponder the unspoken depths.
Like the deep three, the logo three, as we know it today, like came when you got to college, got stronger,
sure.
got to college. But you were like, but I always had a step back.
I did always have to step back.
So like,
Step
where
back
does
left.
that come from? Like, were you mimicking? Did it just come naturally?
I think it just like kind of came naturally. I don't know. It's kind of hard to put my finger on. Honestly, I grew up like a basketball junkie. So I think like even if you're not like intentionally like watching and like paying attention,
like
like
osmosis.
Yeah, you're just like absorbing what you're consuming. And I think
The full scope of Caitlin Clark's injury saga as she began to unfurl it quickly transformed from a manageable inconvenience into a dramatic, multi-act play. It commenced with a quadriceps strain, a common enough setback in the high-stakes world of professional basketball. Yet, almost like an unexpected plot twist in a compelling drama, this initial injury soon found a sinister partner, teaming up with a groin injury as if forming the Avengers of annoying setbacks. And just when the narrative seemed to hint at a potential clear path to recovery, just as a sigh of relief might have begun to ripple through the fanbase, bam! Another groin injury materialized. It was a disheartening, almost theatrical return, a cruel reminder that injuries in the WNBA, much like the villains in a gripping soap opera, possess an uncanny ability to resurface just when you believe they've been vanquished for good, often making a dramatic comeback in the season finale.
I feel about Caitlin being out. A lot of people are looking forward to you two facing off for the first time.
Yeah, I hope she has a speedy recovery. I think player safety is most important, so making sure you're 100% before you step out on the floor could lead to worse things, so I'm glad she's taking care of her body. But there'll be plenty of matches for the future.
Her rehab days, as she described them, painted a vivid picture of a revolving door, constantly cycling between soaring hope and crushing frustration. Some mornings, she felt an almost irresistible surge of mental energy, practically sprinting towards recovery, convinced she was just one perfectly executed stretch away from being game ready, from stepping back onto that coveted hardwood. Then, with a cruel twist of fate, other days her body would seemingly scoff at her determination, laughing in her face with an unspoken message. Nice try, but you reside here now, tethered to the relentless cycle of recovery. In these moments of quiet struggle, Caitlin Clark inadvertently invented what can only be described as the cozy girl athlete aesthetic. Picture this: a global superstar, the face of a league, watching Disney's Moana for the 10th time, perhaps sipping a comforting cup of herbal tea, meticulously writing out affirmations designed to reinforce mental fortitude. Yet, somewhere in the periphery of this serene scene, lurking like a mischievous shadow, was always a resistance band, quietly awaiting its moment to shatter the calm and remind her that the arduous journey of physical therapy was far from over, always ready to ruin her mood with its relentless tension.
Organization do, and I'd say it's very much under, kept under wraps what's going on with Caitlin Clark. But let's take a listen right here.
As we start to answer some questions. First question comes from Krista, who asked this, and she follows up, like, to your knowledge, is Caitlin practicing with the team at all yet? And just in case anybody's listening to this only, Chloe, do you have any updates whatsoever on Caitlin Clark's health status?
I mean, the most I know is, what's already been reported, in the sense of she's been running up and down full speed.
Here's where the interview got real spicy without ever raising its voice. The pressure radiating from Clark was palpable, not just from the immediate confines of her team, but from the entire vast ecosystem that orbit her name. The league doesn't merely want her back, they need her back. Fans across the globe are craving their fix of those iconic step-back threes, the audacious logo shots that define her signature style. And the sponsors? Let's just say merchandise. From jerseys to commemorative bobbleheads, simply does not fly off the shelves with the same frenzied pace without Clark electrifying the court. Then there's the unspoken, yet profoundly impactful financial pull. Caitlin's brand has exploded into its own veritable mini economy, a powerhouse of endorsements and merchandise. Even while sidelined by injury, she's still navigating the relentless grind of signing autographs, posing for pictures, and smiling through the pain. But that level of sustained engagement, that constant public presence while recovering, isn't sustainable forever. Deep within her, she carries the immense weight of knowing her absence transcends mere sports news. It has become a business headline, a tangible impact on the WNBA's burgeoning economic landscape.
Now, 64% of the WNBA is black. All right, Caitlin Clark comes in and is immediately the biggest star in the league. Immediately. And merchandising in every other way. Apparently, there's some jealousy that might be manifesting itself into physical inappropriate conduct.
The burning question, the one everyone desperately sought an answer to, was the ultimate comeback timeline. When exactly would Caitlin Clark return? Would she unleash a jaw-dropping surprise, suddenly appearing in uniform on the court next week, sending shockwaves through the league? Or was this to be a long, drawn-out suspense fest, meticulously orchestrated to maximize anticipation? Her response was a masterclass in calculated ambiguity, so perfectly executed you might assume she'd taken a masterclass in the art of keeping the world guessing. There was no firm date, no definitive specifics, just enough meticulously placed breadcrumbs to lead eager minds down a path of hopeful expectation, perhaps mid to late August, while simultaneously planting the tantalizing possibility of a much sooner, utterly unexpected return. The Indiana Fever, it became clear, were firmly committed to the "we'd rather be safe than sorry" philosophy. They are unequivocally playing the long game, understanding that rushing a superstar player back from a significant injury is the sports equivalent of microwaving a gourmet steak. It's undeniably faster, but the end result will leave everyone involved, from the player to the fans, with a lingering sense of deep regret. And then, like a perfectly timed plot twist, came the emotional heart punch. Caitlin shared the profound advice her mother had given her. "You've taken so much time for everybody else. Like, you have to take time for yourself now." It was a powerful, grounding reminder of self-care amidst the relentless external demands, underscoring that Caitlin Clark is simply not wired for quiet returns. When she finally steps back onto that court, it's going to be explosively loud. The very first possession she touches the ball, anticipate the crowd to go absolutely feral. Expect commentators to rehearse and deliver their "she's back" lines with theatrical flourish. And prepare for Twitter to momentarily crash for at least 15 glorious minutes, overwhelmed by the sheer volume of ecstatic reaction.
People can say what they want, but there's not a player in the WNBA that impacts their team more than Caitlin Clark and has the responsibility that Caitlin Clark has for their team. When we talk about an engine, when we talk about passing, scoring, facilitating, gravity on the basketball court, when we talk about all these different things and all these different patterns, that the way that she plays and the way that she gets her spots and her movement on the court, and she plays the game with a unique rhythm.
Beneath the surface of this injury narrative, a simmering, controversial truth about the WNBA has also been brought to the fore. With 64% of the WNBA's players being black, Caitlin Clark's immediate ascension to the league's biggest star, instantly dwarfing many established players in terms of merchandising and media attention, has not been without its complexities. As one commentator bluntly put it, there's an undeniable undercurrent of jealousy that in some instances appears to be manifesting itself in physically inappropriate interactions on the court. Sue Bird, with that subtle glint in her eye, understood this dynamic perfectly. Her look seemed to convey, "I know precisely how this comeback is destined to unfold, and you are all, without exception, going to completely lose your minds." Having navigated the intense pressures of superstardom herself, Sue has witnessed the relentless hype machine build up countless times. She knows exactly how to ride its colossal wave without allowing it to engulf one's identity or career. The true artistry of this interview lay not in providing definitive answers, but in its exquisite teasing. It dangled tantalizing possibilities, offering just enough for the ravenous headlines, yet withholding the deeper, more complex narrative for the inevitable, much-anticipated encore reveal. This is the masterstroke of maintaining a fanbase's fervent engagement, not through the sterile closure of all questions answered, but through the intoxicating promise of exhilarating chaos, perpetually waiting just around the corner. And make no mistake, when Caitlin Clark finally graces the hardwood once more, somewhere deep within her, a silent, knowing thought will surely echo, "I told you I'd be back."
When Paige Becker says she doesn't think that her and Caitlin Clark play alike, she wasn't lying. She was telling the complete truth, because I see it more than ever right now. At first when Paige said this, I was like, she might be hating. But now that I'm actually seeing why she said it, she's just trying to save herself, to make people know that, hey, we are not the same.
Caitlin Clark's injury saga has, in a fascinating turn, birthed a peculiar subculture of speculation that feels like a chaotic fusion of March Madness frenzy and a deep-dive conspiracy theory subreddit. Her absence has laid bare the undeniable truth. There isn't a single player in the WNBA who impacts their team more profoundly, who shoulders a greater weight of responsibility than Caitlin Clark. When discussions turn to a team's engine, to passing vision, to effortless scoring, to playmaking, to the sheer gravitational pull she exerts on the basketball court, when all these disparate elements and the unique, intricate patterns of her play, her movement, and her spots are considered, it becomes abundantly clear that she operates with a rhythm entirely her own. Within this burgeoning subculture, you have the fervent, she's secretly already healthy and just waiting for the perfect TV ratings moment crowd. These are the dedicated sleuths tracking her grocery store runs, meticulously cross-referencing the number of steps she takes from her car to the store entrance with projected recovery timelines. If she so much as picks up a gallon of milk without a visible wince, boom. It immediately becomes fodder for an instant, hours-long YouTube breakdown video dissecting every micro-expression. Then, on the opposite end of the spectrum, reside the cynical, "she's done for the season" pessimists. These individuals watched the interview and interpreted Caitlin's every word as if she were broadcasting live from a hospital bed, permanently hooked up to a life support machine. They freeze-frame her every fleeting movement, declaring, "See that slight twitch? That's an unequivocal sign she won't be back until 2026. These are the master dramatists, the people who possess the uncanny ability to transform a simple sneeze into a full-blown catastrophic press release. And then, precisely in the bewildering middle, are the casual fans. They innocently clicked on the interview, expecting nothing more than two basketball legends sharing a friendly, lighthearted chat. Instead, they walked away feeling as though they had just endured the basketball equivalent of Christopher Nolan's Inception, their minds thoroughly bent. 2 weeks later, they're still staring blankly into space, haunted by the lingering question of whether Sue Bird's enigmatic smirk at the 3:14 mark of the interview subtly hinted at an early September return, or, far more ominously, meant, "Don't even bother asking me until Christmas."
Got people that are resentful towards her, but not. It's really not about her, guys. It's about what she represents. Before she ever came along, there were a lot of outstanding basketball players who happened to be black females that was doing their thing on the WNBA level. And they never got this kind of shine. This girl, the Golden Goose, comes along and she wreaks havoc.
Sue Bird, it must be said, plays her role in this unfolding circus with the unparalleled finesse of a master puppeteer. She possesses this uncanny, almost imperceptible talent for reacting in ways that could signify absolutely everything, or, just as easily, absolutely nothing at all. A slight raise of an eyebrow? Perhaps Caitlin is making a surprise return next game. A relaxed lean back in her chair? Maybe she's subtly hinting at a months-long absence from the court? Taking a deliberate sip of water mid-sentence? Oh, that's unquestionably code for her making a dramatic appearance in the home opener immediately following the Olympics. It's like attempting to decipher the Da Vinci Code, but for point guards, every gesture a potential clue, every pause a loaded silence. And Caitlin, whether she fully realizes the extent of her influence or not, is fueling this inferno beautifully. She is a consummate professional at delivering the non-answer answer. The kind of response where, in the immediate aftermath, you genuinely believe you've grasped something concrete, something definitive. But upon replaying it, analyzing every word, you come to the slow, dawning realization that you've been expertly sidestepped, gracefully evaded, left with more questions than answers. There are entire fan accounts dedicated to creating elaborate montage edits of Sue Bird nodding, overlaid with soaring, inspirational music, as if Bird herself is personally bestowing a divine blessing upon Caitlyn's arduous road to recovery. There are intricate online threads where people meticulously dissect her tone, her posture, and whether her laugh at the 3:14 mark was a confident, genuine chuckle or a carefully disguised attempt to mask an underlying current of pain. It's reached a point where people are analyzing these minute details with the same intensity typically reserved for high-stakes political negotiations, not the comeback of a basketball player. But such is the undeniable beauty of this current moment. Caitlin Clark has undeniably crossed into that rare, rarefied territory where every minuscule gesture, every whispered word, every subtle shift in expression instantaneously transforms into colossal, headline-grabbing news.
Slow and methodical when she needs to, especially in the half court, especially when she gets off the switch and want to attack the opposing player for as a big man. Like she does little things on the basketball court that you have to really analyze, you have to really watch, you have to really know what you're seeing to really understand how different she is. We have never seen a woman in today's game or in history like Caitlin Clark. I know people want to say that she's the female version of Steph Curry, but to me, she doesn't even play like Stephen Curry, because Stephen Curry, as great as he is, his best attribute is his shooting, but his second best attribute is his off-ball ability. Caitlin is an on-ball guard.
The funniest part of this entire spectacle, perhaps, is imagining the frantic activity within the Indiana Fever's front office right now. They're likely watching the interview on a continuous, endless loop in some dimly lit conference room, pausing frequently to engage in impassioned debates over the most minute details. Does she sound 70% healed to you, or is that merely a trick of the lighting in the studio? There is almost certainly a meticulously crafted PowerPoint presentation titled something akin to Projected Return Windows Based on Eyebrow Movement, with at least 15 dedicated slides solely dissecting Sue Bird's every reaction during the interview. Of course, perpetually lurking in the shadows of all this fervent anticipation is the grand comeback game narrative. Will she make a dramatic, thunderous return, surprising everyone with her full force from the opening tip? Or will she play the long con, meticulously starting slow, perhaps even cautiously, only to then explode in the fourth quarter like a Marvel superhero, arriving precisely halfway through an escalating fight, turning the tide with her sheer brilliance? And the internet? Oh, the internet will absolutely implode. The only thing trending higher than Caitlin Clark's eventual stat line will be countless clips from this very interview, endlessly replayed with triumphant captions proclaiming, "She told us without telling us." The reality is stark. Every star athlete carries a burden far heavier than just the game itself. They bear the crushing weight of societal expectations, the stringent demands of brand obligations, the immense pressure of personal pride, and the silent, ever-present fear that a single, devastating injury could irrevocably alter everything they've built. Sue Bird, better than almost anyone, understands this profound truth, which is precisely why she sat there radiating a profound calm, an aura that silently declared, "I have weathered far worse storms, and you, Caitlin, are going to be perfectly fine." She wasn't merely interviewing Caitlin. She was, in essence, subtly passing on the unwritten, unspoken code of how to navigate the treacherous waters of being simultaneously an elite athlete and a prominent public figure without allowing either demanding role to ultimately break you. And here's the most intriguing part, the truth nobody is quite ready to admit. Some people, deep down, genuinely love the mystery. Oh, they'll undoubtedly complain vociferously on Twitter about the exasperating lack of a firm return date. They'll rant in the comments section, loudly proclaiming that as fans, they absolutely deserve to know. But beneath that veneer of frustration, deep in their subconscious, they secretly revel in this agonizing limbo. One day, their wild speculation will be proven correct, and when that day inevitably arrives, when Caitlin Clark makes her triumphant return, this interview will feel like the iconic pilot episode of a legendary series. A series that, in the end, concluded precisely the way every single fan had desperately wanted it to, with the hero walking back onto the court, a knowing smile playing on her lips, as if she had possessed the complete ending to her own epic story all along. And let's be honest, she probably did.